Rabes and Germs, my name's McConaughey, and this is the third installment of Retro Thursdays here on Mishmashers.com. Before sharing my thoughts, I wanted to let all of you know that my novel, The Keynes Files, written alongside my brother Scott Moore, is available on Amazon for $8.99 on paperback and $5.99 on the Kindle. I hope readers will stop to take a look at our episodic crime mystery novel, and maybe even let us know what they think in a review on Amazon. It'd be very much appreciated. Cheers. Over the years, Batman has become a mainstream juggernaut like no other. From humble beginnings in the early days of Detective Comics, or the lighthearted and zany live-action series starring Adam West as the titular hero, to the animated series and Tim Burton's adaptation of The Caped Crusader depicting a much darker, more depraved antagonist. From the less-than-stellar Batman and Robin film to the re-emergence brought on by Nolan's The Dark Knight series, the character has become DC Comics' golden boy, and not only has it translated to notable movies and television series, but in my opinion, the Batman Arkham series outdoes them all and then some. More than not, the Arkham series hit it out of the park, and it made me wonder whether there are any other developers who rock the cow to fruitful results. On this edition of Ninja Today's Retro Thursdays here on Mishmashers.com, I'll delve down into the obscurity to share my thoughts on several different Batman-related titles. First on the chop block is Batman for the Sega Genesis, based on the 1989 film of the same name and unique from the NES version also developed by Sunsoft. From the get-go, something feels noticeably peculiar about the Sunsoft production. The music developed by Naoki Kodaka provides a unique and appeasing background sound that's upbeat and enthusiastic. Certainly a decent soundtrack, but one that feels more aptly assigned to a 60s Batman than it does the dark, atmospheric backdrop of Tim Burton's film. It's good, it just doesn't fit, I'd say. The graphics themselves aren't awful, and at the very least it does capture the visual aesthetic of the film, however. In Sega Genesis' Batman, the player engaging in button-induced mayhem that chronicles events that occasionally resemble the film. The gameplay itself leaves a lot to be desired. In fact, when I first started playing Batman, I wanted to opt out early on and look for something else to talk about. After all, my goal wasn't to find a bad Batman game, but I figured that you have to take the good with the bad, and if nothing else, at least I could say that I honestly tried. As most of you might expect, Sega Genesis Batman is a button masher, but unfortunately it's a particularly unfulfilling button masher, all things considered. All your opponents are bland and repetitive, and something about Batman's attacks feel unfulfilling and standard. The dullness of the attacks themselves as they land doesn't help matters. The boss battles, barring the inevitable fight with the Joker, bring out the worst qualities of the game's mechanics, with your adversary willing to continuously swat at the air until they inch closer and closer to you. There's no sophistication, which isn't inherently bad. In an earlier edition, I talked about how much fun Turtles in Time was, but that's not what it is with Batman. I will say though, to their credit, Sunsoft does attempt to spice things up by featuring action sequences with the Batmobile and Batwing, which I would consider the parts I liked most. Something else they do is implement platforming mechanics, which not only could I have done without, but I would say also feel very out of place. The little variation in animation and paint-by-the-numbers bad guys, be it the street hoods or the mimes, Batman isn't a game that brings great disdain from me as a gamer, but something that draws nothing at all. So Sega Genesis' Batman game isn't very noteworthy. The fighting mechanics are generic and particularly unsatisfying. Certain aspects feel tonally inconsistent, and while the graphics are decent enough for their time, nothing about it is memorable or worthy of recommendation. Frankly put, it's a below-average button masher.